Thank you, Marilyn. Good afternoon. Bob Pejman, owner of Pejman Gallery. Address is on the record. And I want to clarify that the parking petition that the property owners and the merchants signed, it's not a complaint about the present parking situation. Just to clarify again, the present parking situation in downtown is fine, except for peak season and special events. The complaint is about tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Downtown 2.0 recommended that we increase the residential population of downtown from about 5,000 to 10,000. And that's fine. I'm on board with that. But when you do that, you have to look at the parking code. So the parking code that we have right now for multifamily residential doesn't have any guest parking requirement. And then for the one bedrooms, it only has one space. I mean, that's kind of unreasonable in my opinion. Guests exist, visitors exist, service people exist. You can't deny that they don't exist. And a lot of these one bedrooms, they'll have couples living in them with 2 cars. So suffice to say that guests exist and some of these one bedrooms have 2 people. And so if you want to double the population of Scottsdale like that, you're going to have problems. But let me take one step back. Many of the other cities, even the staff's report, it says that many of the other valley cities have guest parking requirements. And then let's look at a city like Austin, Texas, that's more dense. 1 bedroom, they require 1.5 space. 2, they require 2. 3 bedroom, 2.5. 4 bedroom, 3. So something's got to give. Guest, combination with visitor, whatever. But here's the deal. So if you want to increase the population by 5,000 people, but you don't amend the code to increase the requirements, what's going to happen is that these big new developments are going to overflow to public spaces. And who paid for the public spaces? The old ones were paid with parking credits or in lieu payments. So somebody paid for that. And then you have $20 million in the bonds. It's a great thing. It should be used for public parking. I commend that. But again, if you don't increase the requirements, these new developments will overflow to the public spaces and unintentionally will end up subsidizing the big developments with taxpayer money. And I'm saying unintentionally, but it will happen. We can avoid that. We can grow responsibly. Just amend the code, add guest parking, and increase the 1 bedrooms. I think we'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pejman. Next is Rosemary Purcell.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor Lane, Council. So I am just here to confirm once again how bad the parking is. I have a salon. I've been on Fifth Avenue for 35 years. And I'm in Kiva Center, and I am there all day, every day. And the parking is atrocious. It is full. The Galleria takes all of our parking. It is completely full at 9 o'clock all the way to the very top. And that is because the only spaces that might be open are in the middle where there's 3-hour parking. So I don't know what the answer is. I would love to see the whole garage 3 hours, and then the people that have a lease have a certain pass for their employees to park there so they can stay there longer than 3 hours. But it is absolutely packed, and the worst of the time is between 11 and 2. There's no overflow. There's nowhere to go. And it got to another level, even more so, once the gallery moved in Yelp now and Square. So I cannot understand why we can't get the Galleria to use their own parking. I know they have wide open spaces down there. They have tons of wide open spaces. So I know it's private property. The city cannot make them do anything. But I feel like if we had more 3-hour and more monitoring, I cannot stress enough how it needs to be monitored more. It's monitored a little. It is getting monitored some, but it is not all day, every day. I know for a fact because my employees are parking in 3-hour parking. And they're there all the time checking to see if their tires are striped. So if we could just get the Galleria to stay over in the Galleria parking or move them somewhere where there's a shuttle service or something. But it is definitely the Galleria that is taking all of the 3rd Avenue parking garage. And another thing that is really atrocious is the parking garage elevators. They're like disgusting. They're unacceptable. So you go to Kierland, people shopping around, it's beautiful, and our garage is awful. And part of that is the bars and restaurants at night, the nightlife that goes on. But why don't we have someone maintaining that on a better level? It needs a little paint job, and it needs cleaned. And the windows have never been cleaned, ever. I don't know how you clean them, because they're double pane with cobwebs in between. But it's embarrassing when I have clients coming to their appointment and they're afraid to get in the elevator. It's not a scary thing, it's just dirty. So there just needs to be a resolution. I mean, after 35 years, I hate to have to consider moving my business because of the parking. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frizzell. Next, French Thompson.
Mayor Lane, City Council, thank you for allowing me to be here. Let's see. I'm just going to point this out. All of those little yellow spots on those are all full parking places in the downtown. So I was graciously invited to be able to see the presentation you're going to get from the city. There's going to be some photographs of empty parking places. This is the opposite of that. These are completely full parking places in the downtown. Google Earth provided these photos. This is the same thing. This is a little bit further out view, of a little bit closer in actually. Those are all full parking places, all of them. Every one of those yellow spots is a public parking spot. I would like to point out, however, that there's a Sagebrush Theater up in the top right-hand corner. Nobody's parking there. Nobody knows it exists. There's no signage for anybody in the public to go find it. I'm going to be willing to bet that if they knew that that was there, that would be full too. So here's another shot that I got, which is kind of fun because this is a city lot here, right there in the middle. That city lot, people know it's there. It's also full. All these other parking places around there, those are also full. There's a little spot there which is kind of interesting on the left-hand side that doesn't have any cars in it. That happens to be a private lot of banderas. In the evening, that's totally full because I like to go there and park to eat at banderas. I'm just going to say there's a counterpoint. We really do have a parking issue. Not in the summer, not in the shoulder seasons, but when you have spring training, when you have the Center for the Arts festivals, when you have the culinary events, I basically don't do any business when those things are happening. I don't, and I need the business. I think all the other merchants are there, and that's why they're all signing this petition. You know, I think there's a disconnect when we're complaining about the parking. It sounds like we're not for development. I think we really have decided we're very much pro-development. We just want high-quality development to happen in Scottsdale. Scottsdale's got the cachet to have high-quality stuff. I'd like to see the parking requirements changed, that these developers come in and they do high quality development and provide all the amenities that their tenants need. The way it is right now, they're not. Literally, they're so underparked, it's amazing. They put in gyms in these really cool developments. Nobody uses a gym, but they still put them in because that's an amenity to get people to be there. I think if the parking codes were changed, you get better, high-quality tenants to come in that they know that they can have their 2 and 3 cars and park there. So I think City of Scottsdale is a first-class place. I would like to see first-class development happen in Old Town Scottsdale. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Next is, and final is Don Edwards, I believe it is.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. I find myself once again here trying to get you folks to do something about the parking in the Fifth Avenue area. I am also a business owner in the Kiva Center on Fifth Avenue, and I've been up here before in front of you speaking for the same situation of the parking in that downtown area of Fifth Avenue, Third Avenue, Craftsman Court. The parking situation in that area is killing the businesses in that area. And I talked to some of the restaurant owners, and they said, "Oh, my guys all my patrons Uber here." And that was a couple of years ago when we were having the same situation that we're talking about again. And recently they've come to me and said, "Hey, if you get back on this parking crusade, let me know what I need to do to help," because they're finding that their employees do not have a place to park, as well as their patrons do not have a place to park. And I've sent a few emails to the City Council, Councilman Littlefield. We've been chatting back and forth a little bit, and I keep getting assured that there's plenty of parking in the Fifth Avenue area. But when I leave, if I have to leave during the day for around to a meeting or a doctor's appointment or whatever, and I come back to work, I have to spend the last time I spent half an hour trying to find a parking space. I finally parked at the other side of Goldwater and Fifth Avenue to walk to my store, which is just west of Scottsdale Road. The Galleria employee situation is the direct result of this situation. And I keep talking to the city and to the police, and I keep getting it's public parking. And I said, yes, you're right. It is public parking. It's not Galleria employee parking. We tried years ago to make the entire structure 3 hours. That was great. It helped free up some spaces, but it created another issue for all the employees who work in the Fifth Avenue area. They left the top floor open as non-3 hour, which is full by the time any of us got to work by 8 o'clock in the morning. So that everybody kind of backtracked on that, because now the employees of Fifth Avenue, the whole surrounding area, had no place to park. I don't know what that answer is. We talked about making the whole structure 3 hours and giving passes to employees of the Fifth Avenue area. And I've heard every excuse from, well, it's time consuming, we don't have time. I heard another one say that there's so many employees in the Fifth Avenue area that they would consume the entire parking structure, which I kind of find hard to believe. But those are the continued excuses that I get from the city. And I think the city needs to take a good look at this and figure out not necessarily maybe another structure, but how to get the Galleria employees to park in the Galleria, lots that they're afforded to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. That completes our public testimony for this work study session. And I want to thank everyone for their comments and their input.